Welcome to INS, the International News Service, your source for the most important weird news from across the globe. With news analyst Kevin Harrison, actor, comedian, and musician Mike Wiebe, and professional commentator Brian Camp. INS, the news you need.
Hey, I already talk fast, okay?
Do you talk fast?
Yeah, but not as fast as a Micro Machines guy.
You talk super fast.
You put the Micro Machines guy script in front of me, and then I'll show you how fast I can talk.
He used to sit in a room and just practice talking fast and masturbating.
Just furious. The faster he talked, the more pleasure he got out of
That's
it.
why they never showed him below the waist in those Micro Machine ads.
Rock hard.
Man, what's that guy up to? That must suck.
We talked about him like on a super early episode, and I thought he was dead.
Maybe he needs to come back on a Get to Know Your podcast.
But yeah, Don Machida, I think is his name, and he's still alive. I think he's retired.
Well, aren't there like 3 Micro Machines guys? Isn't it one of those things? It's like,
No, he just talked as fast as 3 guys.
Like, as soon as one gets too old, they kill him. It's like Menudo.
Right. We start slowing down, eliminate the Micro Machines man. He had a mustache, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a mustache.
And he wore like a tracksuit, like a race tracksuit, not
not a tracksuit, but a race.
I gave up on life tracksuit.
John Machida.
Like an Italian. I'm an Italian fella.
Well, I hate to imply that I think all Italians have given up on life, but
ouch.
No, I am correcting something that was said a moment ago.
Oh, okay.
Or Mike labeled the Italian person as someone who gravitates towards the tracksuit.
Crime.
Is there a difference? Oh, that'll get you in trouble with they have a anti-Italian defamation league, right? It's probably the Italian anti-defamation league.
That's what
I
it's
didn't say that in the right order.
Well, so that existed. I know some about that because I saw a documentary on The Godfather, and they got into like Italian racism and stereotypes and how the Italian Anti-Defamation League opposed that. And then it turned out that the Italian Anti-Defamation League got shut down because they had mob ties.
Right.
Typical.
Kind of like, it's like the union stereotype that they're corrupt. And then you find out that, oh no, there's an insane amount of corruption in unions that's been documented forever and is ongoing. INS is anti-union. We can say that, right?
Yeah, we hate the unions.
No. We're with the workers
here. What? Unions aren't with workers? What, are you kidding me? I've been in unions too.
Yeah, they love that shit.
But yeah, like my feeling with being in a union was we had skilled laborers who weren't necessarily skilled businessmen.
Were they legitimate businessmen?
As unions or people who were being
no, they were laborers. You know, they got hired to go build stages and shit.
Huh.
I ran the spotlight for Bono as a union stagehand.
Is that a euphemism for sucking them off?
No.
Okay.
And that guy from is it Candlebox?
That's a band. I forgot about that. That's a get to know your podcast.
I don't think that's a get to know your podcast. Candlebox.
No, we can.
Discovered by Madonna.
Oh.
Here we go.
I know that. I know they were discovered by Madonna.
Britain's own Madonna, the UK's first lady of pop.
There's a new Madonna video. I don't know. It's black and white, and it's her now, and it's on the internet. It was making the rounds the other day, and it's her and like a real random cast of characters. It's like her and like probably a dancer and Jack Black and Amy Schumer and Lil Wayne and Judd Apatow.
Are you just naming names?
This seems made up.
It sounds like I am. It is that random, and it's all black and white, and they're talking about they're playing Truth or Dare, like spin the bottle and Truth or Dare. And every time they cut to Madonna, like it's very clear that all the shots with her, somebody's like gone in and like digitally like fucked with her face to make her seem more smooth, but it really just kind of makes her look blurry. And it's like this weird like black and white like table scene with about 10 or 12 people, and every time they cut to her, like it's just this weird kind of like
Uh-huh.
The camera got blurry. And they're playing truth or it's really because she's almost 60,
I think she's over 60, isn't she?
Yeah, I thought she was
might
over.
be. Yeah. She might be, but she also looks like, she's starting to look kind of like one of those
64.
Those ads of fucking when plastic surgery goes wrong, you see those ads. They're like the pop-up ads, and it's always the two fucking twin brothers that look their faces look like Cowardly Lion sort of thing.
It looks so weird. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. And it's just real weird. Like, hey, let's make out, and then at the very end of the video, somebody goes, Madonna, she goes, dare, and she goes, I dare you to go on a world tour and play all your hits, and she goes, dare accepted. It's weird because I wouldn't want to go. I don't mean I just don't really care about Madonna that much, but if somebody were to go hey, you want to go see Madonna tomorrow? I got free tickets and they're real good seats. And I go, no. And they'll go, well, I'll pay for all the booze. Then I go, okay. But now I would be I don't know, man. It's going to be fucking corny and shit. I'd
feel bad. I think I would feel that, I don't know, there's got to be, I don't know the word for it. I can't think of it. But when you feel somebody else's embarrassment, kind of it's
yeah.
This doesn't seem like you should still be doing this. Not because, and old people can do lots of things, but one thing old people can't do is not be old.
Okay.
That's a very consistent thing. When you're old, I'm getting old. Older. I wouldn't say old quite yet. There's things.
Oldish.
There's things I can't do.
Right.
Or without.
Name one.
Well, it's hard to think of one on the spot. I could definitely go on a world tour and not raise any eyebrows.
Yeah, that's true.
Hey, do you guys think that those twins, the plastic surgery disaster twins, are this generation's fat guys on mopeds?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Well, unlike the fat guys on mopeds who admitted to being fat guys on mopeds, those plastic surgery twins swear that they have never had plastic surgery. They've denied. That's
the evolution of the weirdness, though. That's why
okay.
It would take a lot to trump the fat guys on mopeds. And they've done it by being 100% delusional about their lives.
So they're the new McGuire twins.
Yes. The rest of the famous wrestling McGuires.
Yes.
Man. So Mike has come out as anti-Madonna. Is that what we're?
No, I don't know. I don't know. I honestly, I don't even know where I am with Madonna.
I will say one of our friends, we'll call him CP.
Oh yeah.
His wife,
Charlie Pride,
our good friend and podcast listener, Charlie Pride.
Used to sing singing the national anthem at Arlington Stadium before Texas Rangers games.
Wow.
Put that in the trivia notebook.
He was taking his wife to a Madonna concert. She was just going by herself and he was going to wait in the car. And, but she got a call that day, answered the call, and they said, hey, we've got 2 VIP Madonna tickets to give away. Do you want them? And she said yes. And so he went to the show, and they were right at the stage. And he said it was just even if you didn't care about her music, and this is 10 years ago, but he said even if you didn't care about her music, it was just this amazing spectacle.
I bet. I do
into it.
I do like a spectacle show like that. That's pretty fun.
Have you guys ever been to I don't think any of us are seriously, at least not anymore, into monster trucks. Mike,
what do you mean not anymore?
I'm concerned that, well, no, Gravedigger, Bigfoot, if you guys, I've had the chance to go to one and I went and it was a similar, I'll never go again, but man, it's fucking something to see. They put on a show for sure. And it is loud as fuck.
Again, when I was in a union, one time my job was to spread the mud onto
Kevin's in the union, everybody.
Union, yes.
Oh shit, we lost Mike.
Michael,
can you hear us?
You know what? That's the podcast union cracking down because we want to stay independent. This is what they do, Kevin. I'm not anti-union. It just seems like unions should have a lifespan. I think when unions form, there's a great reason for a union to form. And I think they accomplish some very important things very quickly. and then it's that second generation of union involvement, and it just starts to rot. Like it's inevitable that human beings doing that are going to destroy it.
I don't know. I mean, I think that we're at the point now where all the union busting we did in the 80s has really like paid off to the point where it's like there's no working class anymore it's also middle class.
Yes. Wait, is that did it pay off?
No,
I don't know, man.
Paid off for corporations, but not for the rest of us.
Did you label me some sort of anti-union rabble rouser?
Yeah, well, a rabble rouser. That is, which you know is the first rabble rouser.
Who's that?
That would be the Hamburglar. Rabble rouser.
Horrible.
Welcome to the International News Service. We're your hosts. I'm Kevin Harrison, along with
I'm Brian Camp.
I'm Mike Wiebe. And Mark Ryan's nowhere to be seen.
I heard a rumor that he's going to be here next week.
I'm not going to be here next week, so
I heard there's going to be a big meeting.
Oh shit!
Held in secret without me.
We're recording this at night, and Mike's in a dark room, yet he put sunglasses on.
I think sunglasses that don't have earpieces on them.
Oh, it's
which makes them the future of sunglasses, maybe?
Yeah, basically, I'm going to offer you two pills, a red pill and a blue pill. If you take the blue pill, you continue your regular life. If you take the red pill, you put women in their place, you own a Camaro, and you practice kickboxing. But if you take the blue pill, your penis starts to grow inside to your own body, and you only watch Lifetime Network TV. But the red pill, if you take the red pill, suddenly you have every Steven Seagal movie on VHS.
Mike, will the red pill rationalize my up to now numerous failings in life?
The red pill will explain why all those stuck-up bees have been keeping you down.
I'm in.
Again, I'm wearing sunglasses that have no legs to connect to the ears. They just float on my eyes.
And they've stayed on.
So what you're saying is that your nose is so big that the sunglasses just fit right on there.
I'm not saying that, but I will. I've been moving my windows around here because I got a couple. I got like 11 monitors because I took the red pill, and I used to have just 2, and then just all these other monitors started pop. You just get them when you get red pilled. Oh, the other good thing is the red pill, you can bite on it. It's a gusher. But I did through my different monitors, I did have like a camera that was putting up. So I was looking in a different direction. I could see myself from a profile. And, sometimes I forget how large my nose is. And then I was reminded when I saw like a perfect profile view, and I was like, oh, Jesus. Jesus Christ. I'm lucky I can fucking go to sleep with my head horizontal and I don't die like the Elephant Man.
Yeah, your nose isn't really that big.
It's pretty big.
But it's within proportion. I think that's what the listener needs to hear, is that there is on the scale.
No, it looks like
it's not exceeded the bounds of good taste.
I've forgotten my Groucho Marx glasses and fake mustache. It looks like
you're going to say something, some kind of ha-cha-cha or good night, miss whoever, wherever you are.
Yeah, I do need a catchphrase, a nonsensical catchphrase. It's too late in life to get a nose job, though.
Is it?
I think that
Madonna got one.
Yeah,
well, I know, and now I'm not going to see her on tour.
Okay, well now you've hit upon something.
No, that's fine. Maybe she did. I don't know if she did or didn't. She never did. That's crazy. If she did, she didn't need one. That's the thing is, like, Madonna would be like super fucking hot without a single thing done on her face ever. You know, she was a pretty lady.
Yeah.
Italian. Madonna Ciccone, we called her back in the neighborhood. But
that's true.
I do think that, like, I don't know. I think there's just too much of me around with the big nose to get a smaller one.
Oh, it would be like the lady from Dirty Dancing.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Jennifer Grey, I think is her name.
Nobody would recognize you anymore.
Grey.
Yeah.
Who was really hot with her bigger nose, I thought.
Yeah.
Ferris Bueller's sister.
I would like to get, and I'll say this publicly, I would like to get on my left I'm starting to get a saggy thing under my left eye.
Oh no.
Yeah.
But between your eyebrow and your eyeball,
Uh-huh.
it's just like, especially in the morning, I look like Rocky at the end of the movie Rocky, or sometimes I look like Rocky at the end of the movie Mask. It's so puffy. That's it. That's for the old people. That joke.
That's solid.
Eric Stoltz.
Yeah. So do you are you saying you might have had a stroke, or is it just normal hooded eyes?
No, it's that thing where like I can't remember. There's a name for it. It's like
I've always heard it called hooded eyes.
Hooded eyes. Exactly. I've got hooded eyes. Come see the age between you and I. Nothing? Okay.
No, I don't.
No, I
just
didn't deserve anything.
I can't join in.
It's fun.
Yeah, we were working on where our chorus should,
Well, I said Jennifer Grey, and then I just sang a song from Dirty Dancing, a parody. I just feel like I deserve $1,000.
Was that in Dirty Dancing? I thought all the Dirty Dancing songs were
Hungry Eyes.
songs.
Yeah, sung by Patrick Swayze. Sung by Patrick Swayze himself.
Is there any chance that it was on the soundtrack but not in the movie?
That was definitely in the movie.
Okay, because they did that sometimes, right? Didn't they like throw on some bonus songs or try to?
Sometimes.
Patrick Swayze did.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, you got that one right, Brian.
Mm-hmm. Good Texas man.
Also from Texas.
You might even say, but he is dead. But you know what? He might be a ghost.
Oh, I got that one.
Explain it to me.
There's a movie.
He was in a movie called Ghost.
Yeah, he played
and he played a ghost.
Seriously, Kevin, it's freaky.
It sounds
freaky
scary.
because sometimes you see him and sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
And so it's like, God, it's like really a ghost. I don't know how he acted invisible like that.
I'm gonna make a BuzzFeed article that's 12 times the movie Ghost predicted the future.
Oh man, now I want to see a series of Mike Wiebe's 12 times just random shit predicted the future. I love those articles.
Yeah.
So this week, we've got 2 news stories, an update on a story we covered in a past episode, and Mike has a new story for us in Get to Know Your Podcast. So our first story comes to us from CBS News.
Oh, I didn't know they had a news division.
The Columbia Broadcasting System.
Interesting.
So,
I did not know that they did that. I thought they just had designing women.
And Wings. No, that was NBC. Shit.
Well, somebody's got to
So
report on the
stupid.
designing
And
women.
Major Dad.
Oh,
Gerald McRaney.
from Simon & Simon.
Yes, and Major Dad. So this first story is an update. And we first covered this back in episode 85, which if you haven't listened, go check it out. We had Shane Torres on that episode. It's a pretty good one.
Oh, yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
we talked about how GEICO was ordered to pay a Missouri woman $5.2 million because in 2017, she'd gotten HPV while having unprotected sex with her then boyfriend in the back of a car. And at the time, he had been insured by GEICO. She filed a personal injury suit in arbitration, which GEICO ignored, and the arbiter ultimately awarded the woman $5.2 million. But earlier this month, that was a good but, wasn't it? But
Which is the same place that he fucked her.
ooh, cannot confirm.
Oh, man. Excited Mike jumping in. It's one of the greatest things ever.
Cannot confirm or deny. But earlier this month, the Missouri Supreme Court unanimously overruled the finding. Basically, what happened was that the woman sent every required notice to GEICO, and GEICO chose to ignore the notices. Once the woman got the award, GEICO then tried to appeal the case, but the appeals court denied this, saying GEICO had a chance to defend itself at arbitration and chose not to. But the Missouri Supreme Court said this was wrong, and GEICO should have had a chance to weigh in on the matter, so the case was sent back to the lower appeals court. INS will keep you posted if anything further happens in the backseat HPV lawsuit case.
What? So what does that mean? She's not going to get no money?
I mean, they sent it to the appeals court. You can't really
A rehearing.
It's really okay. So this is what's really stupid. One, you're not really supposed to be able to appeal an arbitration anyway, and 2, if this was the woman appealing and not GEICO, I promise you, the Missouri Supreme Court would be like, "Sorry, you had your chance. You chose not to take it."
Well, it could be procedural too. I think that there's lots of things that are otherwise foreclosed to people, and there's remedies available to them in extreme circumstances. And it could be that the court said this is such a shift in liability. I would assume, I don't know, but
his policy, I think,
premises liability.
I think his maximum
that it would be
liability was $1 million, and so this was 5.2.
Right.
But again, they chose not to show. Like, they knew how much they were being sued for and chose not to show up.
Right, but I mean, if that's the case, then there needs to be some kind of remedy if the arbitrator awarded outside the bounds of what is at risk in arbitration. I mean, you can't do that either. It's not like a judge can't say, I'm mad, so I'm going to do something outside what is already contractually specified. And they would have to have a way to hear that.
Yeah, but there are reasons why you can go above. I guess I don't want to get too into the weeds here, but I know that in Texas, if the liability is clear in a case and an insurance company denies coverage or delays, then you can get damages above the maximum of what your policy says.
But is that is something that an arbitrator can do, or do you have to find remedy in the courts for that?
I don't know. I'm not a personal injury lawyer. Don't call me with your parking tickets, speeding tickets, or personal injury issues. I don't think that counts as advertising.
The arbitrators, they're the weird aliens from Halo, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes, the arbitrator.
That's the guy who lives on the moon in Marvel Comics, right?
That's Uatu, the Watcher. That's Uatu.
Is this true? This is not a character I'm familiar with.
Uatu, the Watcher. He looks like a big bald bobblehead, and he watches.
Yeah, he's wearing like kind of ancient Greek clothes, but I think they're kind of more flared.
He's kind of dressed like a toga.
Yeah,
like one of the Green Lantern guys.
That's DC, Brian.
They got. Oh, I thought you said DC.
No, this is Marvel.
I really did. I'm sorry. I apologize. I've made a huge mistake for the listener. I'm being looked at like.
Can I say something to the listener? Like, I'm sorry we wasted your time for the last couple seconds with someone who doesn't know canon. I mean, and listen. I mean, there have been a handful of DC Marvel crossover events, very few,
right?
But I assure you, the Watcher was not involved in any of them, to my knowledge.
Now, I'm going to put a bounty out if any listener can produce evidence that there is in some way, shape, or form, there has been a crossover. I will reward you with a crisp $5 gift certificate to the fast food restaurant of my choice.
If there has been a crossover where there's the Watcher showed up, or a crossover at all.
Yeah,
a crossover that could conceivably include, by reference or some other incorporation, include the Watcher.
I mean, the Watcher's always watching the Earth from the moon, so...
Well, it sounds like you're already giving up, Kevin. It sounds like you've already conceded my point. So maybe I don't even need to reward anyone with it. Maybe I should give you a $5 gift certificate to a fast food joint. I've been proven correct. For the listener, I've been vindicated. I appreciate you standing by me in these troubling times.
I don't think that
that's vindicated.
The Watcher has ever been involved in any
100%. It feels so good right now.
No, it's not. It's not.
After struggling through this, it feels so good.
No, we have to see. Listen, I will track down the crossover, the DC Marvel crossover that came out in the like mid '90s. And if the Watcher's in there,
is that the only time that's happened?
I will do the research.
Let's do your own research.
I'll do my own research.
That's our slogan, right? Is that our slogan?
Yeah, that's our slogan.
Do the research.
Do your own research.
I don't think that's our slogan. I'm the one doing the research. I'm the only researcher.
This is our slogan. Do your own. It's an INS official slogan. Do your own research. Rand Paul forever.
That's definitely not our
It is.
I don't know. That sounds like us, though. That sounds like
it doesn't sound anything like us.
Our long-standing political leanings. Well, so didn't we decide back in episode 85 with Shane that there was a chance here, a very good chance, perhaps that all of this was a setup to try to do an end run on GEICO to have them pay. Like, this wasn't like there was whether they screwed up or not, that perhaps this wasn't really ever a legitimate claim, and it was just a a strike claim or a strike suit of some kind.
That was Geico's allegation, is that she and the boyfriend just went like, well, they didn't show up. I'm gonna get $5 million. Is that okay with you? And that the arbitrator just went along with that, which doesn't quite seem right to me either. But
Right.
I don't know.
Does the
He's probably
boyfriend get any
getting
money?
paid off.
Are they still together?
No, they're not a couple. They've been a couple since 2017 when he gave her.
Do you think
HPV.
she got the
Here's a condom.
HPV from just regular sex or from the butt fucking?
Well, that's a good question, Mike.
The court documents do not make that clear.
They don't. Do they? Is there anything in GEICO rules about butt fucking versus regular front fucking?
Well, the
Read the fine
GEICO
print. I'm sure
GEICO
it's
policy
in there.
will cover their argument, which again should have been made in arbitration, was that they're only liable for the normal use of a car, and that having sex in a car is not the normal use of a car. But I know a lot
That
of
is
people.
normal though.
Yeah.
Butt fucking isn't. No, butt fucking isn't normal. But
Yeah.
Oh, it
Well,
depends on
but-
where the penetration occurs.
Some people it is, Michael. Yeah, Kevin.
Yes.
no, butt
Which-
fucking on top of a car is normal.
Oh, I see.
But butt
okay.
fucking in a car is not normal, according
okay.
Okay.
to North American car fuck laws.
Nope.
That is an amazing. That is my favorite treatise.
Hey, Kevin, can you, off the top of your head, can you list off the types of sex that GEICO traditionally will cover?
Yeah.
No, I can't.
Did it? I'm going to ask you this: did it possibly get shortened to boo-fooing? Do they call it boo-fooing instead of butt fucking? Do they accidentally call it boo-fooing? And maybe there's some sort of a language, like what? Let's define boo-foo, because it's not like it's like pornography.
Uh-huh.
It's like I know it when I see it, but when you say boo-fooing, it's like, well, is that full on gaping? Is that is that spitting? Is it, or
Michael.
is it just gently probing?
Hard hitting questions.
I can't say. The court documents just said that they had sex.
That's very vague. That's
Well, that could be a
incredibly
lot of
vague.
things, though. That's vague.
Brian,
Yeah.
the Watcher appears in Darkseid versus Galactus: The Hunger, Volume 11, which is a Marvel and DC crossover.
Oh
Brian.
man, I just
Crazy.
it feels so good. Oh guys,
But I think it's difficult to call him one of those Green Lantern guys. He's not a Green Lantern guy.
boy, you work in this life for so long, and there's doubters, there's detractors, there's people that just don't believe, that want to bring you down. They do everything they can to crush you under the weight of their thumb. They call you names. They look at you like a fool. And when you're finally objectively proven, when they have to admit their falsity, their duplicity, their lies, it feels so good.
I'm
It
looking
just
at the
feels really
comic
good right now, guys.
And it looks like the Watcher's only line of dialogue is, "I'm not one of those Green Lantern guys."
I'm shaking my head slowly, concerned that my vindication's built on a lie.
I just think that, yeah, I mean, I really do think that this is a legal loophole. It's just slippery.
The case before us, the GEICO case.
Like getting that in, that counting as a win for him is some fucking slippery shit. It's just like trying to hold a fucking you got greased up hands and you're trying to hold an eel and it's just slipping all around.
Mm-hmm. And somehow, through the sheer force of my will, I've been able to cling to that eel.
I feel
Feels
like
good.
the only solution to this, guys, is arbitration.
Well, just don't answer any letters. If you get anything in the mail certified, ignore it.
I will show up.
We know from a few episodes ago that Mike is not afraid to show up when he feels he's in the right, and that he's always won those cases when he got a ticket for littering for throwing an apple core at a cop.
True. I didn't throw it at the cop. I threw it at a bush. I would have liked to throw it at the cop.
I like that story, Mike, just because it's one that does stick out, and I feel like it's a good example to use, and maybe an example that people have used before to explain things you can do and things just because you can't. I guess just because you can't do something you shouldn't, that doesn't mean you should do something.
Yeah.
The spirit of the law versus the letter of the law.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I guess you could argue that an apple core is litter under some, very broad definition of refuse or something else. But that was a wrong. You were wrong. Do you know the name of that officer? Don't. If you do, don't.
No, I don't.
Curious.
I don't.
Yeah, let's put it out there. We can do that, right?
Well, I just like
encourage people to.
He is the face of ACAB. Anytime you see that spray painted or like scrawled in a bathroom, know that that's who they're talking about.
Okay.
Their logo should be an apple core. That should be the internationally, if not nationally, recognized symbol of concerns about police oppression. Should be an apple.
That guy. All I know is he's probably. Right. I whooped his ass in court. If you think about it, no, he didn't show up. But I would have. He was afraid.
I'm sure he was embarrassed too. I mean, he should have been. That's an embarrassing thing to do. A petulant, childish thing to do just because you can. And that should be acknowledged. Hey, Kevin.
Yes.
So I think before, I know we need to move on, but I just want to get one thing clear in my mind because I'm still the GEICO thing.
10 seconds.
I feel like we're going to need another update on this down the road to see how this all finishes out. Because also at this point, beyond arbitration, they've gone to an appeals court, and in this GEICO, so their lawyers ain't cheap, I would think. Right. And then they appealed that ruling.
They've got their in-house counsel.
Yeah, but for litigation, they probably outsource that, is my guess. Yeah. That's what most places do, I think, or so I've heard. And they went to the Missouri Supreme Court, right? Missouri, you're right. They've got to be getting close in total man hours of time to, like, they're approaching, it would have been cheaper just to pay the money. Or at least to offer like, hey, we'll drop it if you'll take half, right? They still could negotiate that settlement, right?
Prior to going to arbitration, she offered them $1 million, which was the total of his insurance, and they again wouldn't acknowledge it, just ignored it. She did not do, from a notice perspective, anything she should not have done.
It sounds like GEICO tries to take care of their problems the Mike Wiebe way. Just ignore it.
Just hide under some coats.
Just ignore it. It'll go away.
Hide under some coats, and eventually it might go away. So our next story comes to us from The Guardian.
Ooh.
Oh, what are The Guardian?
Galaxy. No, that's coming up.
Yes, soon. The Galaxy.
That might be one of the only upcoming Marvel movies that I think I'm pretty. I would say I'm excited to see. I think that's going to be good.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe I'll just be hugely disappointed.
The title for this episode is just going to be a string of Marvel characters.
Oh, yeah, we are talking a lot about Marvel. Tarkin. All right.
Moff Tarkin.
I'm
Grand Moff Tarkin.
Yeah, another Disney property. I am done speaking for a while.
There's an Ant-Man movie coming out, but I'm still boycotting until they change his name to Ants-Man because his power is to control ants. Uh-huh. It's not so much the power of it. He doesn't have any ant powers. Ants can't get bigger or smaller, and they're not like strong and shit when they're. I mean, I guess they're kind of strong when they're small, and they are small, but they're strong for what they are. But his power is controlling a whole bunch of ants. Unlike Spider-Man, who has the powers of a spider, and until fucking Disney and Marvel and fucking Michael Eisner and Bob Iger and Kevin Feige, until they fucking recognize what I am saying and the point that I am making, they're not getting my dollar. And Phase 6 is going to fail. If I continue to badmouth this, you think that they're going to make it to Phase 7? I don't think so.
I really want somebody just to isolate my
Hold on, it is incredibly simple to just put the letter S on all of the posters and the title sequence.
Ants-Man. That's his deal. He controls ants.
Well, now I have a question that you guys, Kevin had to do the research. I couldn't do it to pull me out of the fire and demonstrate that I knew exactly what I was when you demonstrated. I knew exactly what I was talking about when you did that.
I should have even said possibly you meant you ought to.
It's just you just acknowledge the truth of my words. So Ant-Man, when in the early Ant-Man episodes, or when he was first introduced,
some people call them issues.
Well, that's part of the question.
Okay.
God damn it. Was he always able to both get small and large? Or did the ability to get large come later after he was already established as Ant-Man?
That was when he was Giant Man. He couldn't get small anymore. He could only get giant for a while.
Well, yeah. Why did it default back then to Ant-Man if he could do both?
Well, eventually he could do both, but
Well, I don't even know about eventually, but I know back in the day there was Ant-Man, and then he changed his character to become Giant Man. It was all Hank Pym with his Pym particles,
right?
Portrayed in the films by Michael Douglas, and then I don't know, Scott Lang, the character that Paul Rudd, sexiest man of the year, Paul Rudd plays. He was like another character, so I don't know. They've switched it up a whole bunch of times, and I think for continuity, or I don't know, for simplest, I don't know why they did that. I don't know why Kevin Feige, I don't know why he decided to do that. If he's going to go against canon, and if you're going to go against canon, do the right thing and name him Ants Man, which is it's the only way it even makes sense. Like, they named him Ant-Man back then because it was like the 1960s and everyone was goddamn stoned out of their fucking minds on LSD. It's 2023. Ants Man.
I just want to let the listener know we're transitioning to a Marvel podcast, clearly.
Well,
not at
so this story comes to
Yeah.
this story comes to us from The Guardian.
Oh, what are they guarding?
Of the galaxy. Every once in a while, there are reports in the media about law enforcement hiring a psychic to help with an investigation. But now this appears to be happening with an airline, specifically Bolivia's state airline called BOA has enlisted a pet psychic, or as they call it, an interspecies communicator, to track down a lost cat after a passenger's pet went missing. Apparently, the cat, named Tito, was reported to have been lost by the owner after she landed in the Bolivian city of Tarija. The psychic is working remotely from La Paz and sending her premonitions through WhatsApp. She said she has a sense Tito is alive, but so far there is no trace of the missing feline. A Brazilian vice minister for consumers also assured the public that, quote, the psychic said that she could talk to Tito to find out where he is, if he is afraid or hidden, or if something more serious has happened. Not surprisingly, the situation has nevertheless been controversial within Bolivia, where it has been attacked as a waste of taxpayer money, and outside Bolivia, where it was widely lambasted on social media, with one person tweeting, quote, if the animal psychic actually finds Tito the cat, I'll eat my tweets.
Why would taxpayers be involved?
Because the airline is paying for it, and the airline is owned by the Bolivian government.
What's the airline called?
They're called BOA. It's actually something like...
What is it? Body Odor Airlines?
It's hard. So I did a lot of research into this, and it's like Airlines de Bolivia... and then put the initials as though it were in English, which would still be Bolivia of Airlines, which doesn't also make any sense.
Body Odor Airlines?
No, sir. No,
everybody on the air, that must stink.
You want to wear a clothespin on your nose.
Can we all agree Tito is a very good name for a cat, and it's probably a very cute cat?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like the name
That's
Tito.
fair.
That would suck real bad to have your pet get lost, but
it's awful.
Yeah.
In fact, I wouldn't want to travel without, like, can I put the carrier, sit it on my lap or something? Like, I don't know why.
Cats have a very sensitive sense of smell. Maybe they can't handle it.
That's why you knock them out with milk, like B.A. Baracus.
You're saying Mr. T is a cat?
That's what he was based on. B.A. Baracus is also a good name for a cat.
Yeah, that would be a good name.
I don't know pet psychics. I don't.
Yeah, they don't cross paths with the more legitimate, non-traditional investigatory tools that we employ, right? I don't know that we come across pet psychics that often.
Well, are there any theories as to what happened to the pet, to Tito?
No, that was one of the weird things is nobody seems to have any idea of where the cat ended up.
I hope it didn't get eaten by one of the snakes.
Yeah. You have snakes there.
Snakes on the plane.
That saying comes from somewhere. So
Yeah,
always some truth to that.
It came from Samuel L. Jackson's mouth.
that's based on a true story.
I bet planes have all kinds of places. Well, okay. Planes have a lot of places for cats to hide, but isn't the most likely thing that, one, if we know Tito's a good name for a cat, and if you name a cat Tito, it's probably a cool cat.
Yeah.
Right.
And if you're working baggage and you're having a bad day and you come across this super cool cat named Tito, maybe you take Tito home.
Yeah.
Shouldn't do it.
Oh, I bet there's an award at this point. They're
Well,
paying a psychic.
maybe.
You know, pet psychics aren't cheap, especially the ones that use WhatsApp.
That's right. Facebook's premier encrypted messaging service.
I think the cat's probably in a better off place if it has an owner who believes that an airline is doing their due diligence by hiring a pet psychic.
It does almost feel like she was blown off to the point of a manager or somebody just is kind of a dick move saying, "Oh, we're doing everything we can. Look, we hired a pet psychic."
We hired a psychic.
just to try to like rub it in her face that they lost her poor cat.
We've been when the plane is parked, we turn on Puss in Boots and hope that the cat will come out and watch it.
Yeah,
We run it on repeat.
we left a whole stack of fully formed fish skeletons.
Yeah,
sitting in the airport, and the cat hasn't come to it yet.
Let
We've done
me
everything
ask you
we
this
can, man.
question. This is something I've never heard. Have there been any random fires happening around Bolivia?
The article didn't specify. There could be.
Well,
Because Bolivia being a place that, I mean, let's face it, that's where the good cocaine comes from.
oh well,
I
that's
thought that was Colombia.
It's closer to Colombia than
Oh, okay.
states.
I'm sure there's a lot of cocaine tourism in Bolivia. Though.
Yeah. I'm just saying. I mean, there's certain. I would be very interested to see if there's been a rash of places going ablaze for no good reason. Or
What are you saying?
I
Like it's a heat
feel like
wave?
there's a connection there, but I don't know who would be involved in such a confluence of events.
I got lost on the plane, bitches. Is modern tap dancing popular in Bolivia?
Again, the article doesn't say it could be.
Well, let's keep an eye on that. Let's keep an eye on
Right.
both like off Broadway style cabaret, song and dance, and possible arson.
Maybe some of our Bolivian listeners could check in with us and let us know.
So our next story comes to us from the CBC.
Oh, wait.
the Canadian-
CBC, that fucking place that fucking Fauci works for?
No, that's the CDC. This is the
I
Canadian
hate
Broadcasting.
Fauci. Okay.
This is the Canadian Broadcasting Company.
No, good. You're about to get
He
me all
doesn't-
riled up.
Fauci doesn't work in Canada.
Unfortunately, he doesn't work there. Fortunately, he works here and ruins every day of my life. He's ruining my life.
I can tell. You're just living in rags over there.
Well, if it's not Marvel with Ant-Man, it's Fauci, right, Mike?
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he had something to do with it. I would not be surprised if him and think about it. Fauci. Fauci.
Those are
Fauci,
two words that
Feige.
start with the same letter. Wow.
They sound pretty similar. They sound pretty fucking shifty together.
Right. That's so great.
Talk about a Marvel team up, Feige and Fauci.
Wouldn't Trudeau welcome Fauci with open arms? Isn't that a match made? Don't Canadians? Do Canadians hate Trudeau? We have lots of Canadian listeners. Sound off.
I have Canadian friends, and I hear a little bit about it. I think that they're not happy, but they don't have good alternatives.
Well, are we talking about Doonesbury?
Yes. So it was a routine day at the Pacific Institution prison in Abbotsford, British Columbia, Canada, when officers noticed something strange in the yard. A gray bird wearing what looked like a tiny backpack. According to one officer, it took, quote, a lengthy period of time, unquote, to corner the bird and capture it. But they finally removed its backpack and set it free, only to find The backpack contained 30 grams of crystal meth.
Yeah.
Officials are still Officials are still investigating the matter, but one expert said there are only two ways the pigeon got inside. The first is that someone threw the pigeon over the fence into the prison yard, and the second is that an inmate spent months training the pigeon to recognize the prison as its home, and then someone smuggled it outside, fastened the backpack to it, and released it to return home to the prison. Apparently, pigeons have been used to smuggle drugs across America, Europe, and Asia since at least 1930. But since pigeons can't really carry that much, it was thought that this practice had pretty much died out decades ago until recently when it happened in Canada.
You know, I know crystal meth isn't good for you and all, but there's sometimes you just have to admire ingenuity.
I feel like the effort to train a pigeon to return to you and then smuggle it out would be
A lot
more
work.
difficult than somebody hurling a pigeon over a wall.
But hurling a pigeon and hoping it got to the right person is also a lot of work, I feel like, or a lot of hope.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, it didn't get to the right person, but it made it to the prison yard, which is pretty good.
I mean, like, I kind of feel sad that they didn't get I know crystal meth is bad for you, but I'm kind of bummed that they didn't get that crystal meth. I feel like that's got to be very frustrating to get that close,
Right.
and then have it all fall apart because I don't know why. Maybe somebody noticed that the bird had a backpack on. Oh, you know what? I bet I know what that pigeon was. That was one of the good feathers from Animaniacs.
Yeah.
Oh.
Underrated.
That was one of the
feathers.
good. That was one of the good feathers.
I feel like they shouldn't have let. I feel like to solve
Mike.
this mystery, all they needed to do was put an Apple AirTag in the backpack and send the pigeon back, but they just let it go.
Well, I mean, it's fucking prison guards. It's not. I mean, like, it's the fact that they didn't just smash it with a hammer. It shows like amazing restraint.
I mean, didn't you used to be in a band with a prison guard?
Yeah, but he was like a juvie prison guard.
Okay.
And yeah, Pat totally would have fucking smashed one of them with a hammer. Yeah.
Man, how many ounces was it?
30 grams. So that I think that's like a quarter
And I guarantee
pound.
you, none of those kids were clever enough to train a bird to fly around with crystal meth.
It is an ounce.
That's not an insignificant amount.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't know based on volume.
Have you guys ever done crystal meth?
As an attorney, I'm not answering that question, but also no.
Well, I have, and I love it.
Does that explain the ant versus ants
God
man?
damn it, it's ants. No, I've never done crystal meth, but I'm sure it's delightful. I think that's a real cute endeavor. Like, you really think of some dude with a bunch of face and neck tattoos with no shirt on, real skinny, with maybe he's got a wife beater on or just no shirt at all.
Right.
In a really, sketchy, dimly lit room with a table with a big pile of powder and an AK-47 and maybe like a handgun sitting there. And he's like, weighing stuff and cooking up stuff. And then I like the image and there's like, some ominous music. And then you just see him making a tiny little backpack for a little birdie and putting the backpack on him and stuff.
This is the politeness that the polite twist Canada puts on everything, including crime.
Yeah.
What if Tito caught a meth pigeon and OD'd?
Yeah, that's possibility for sure. Or I don't know. Maybe I wonder what they'll do next. If at some point a mole, like a little mole, will come up through the dirt and it'll have a little backpack on.
Will you have a helmet with a light on it?
Yeah, a little helmet with a light and a backpack.
It'd be adorable.
I don't know. There's somebody right now that's really bummed out in that prison.
Oh yeah. Somebody came up with like a legitimately, complicated plan and it was thwarted and they knew about it. Because there's no way they didn't say, who did this?
Yeah.
Not that anybody was going to talk.
Some toothless Andy Dufresne.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you this real quick. If you were gonna smuggle contraband into a prison and you had access to all of the animals in the animal kingdom, much like Noah, what animal would you use this and what would you smuggle in?
Monkey.
Okay. Wait, any specific kind or just a general monkey?
Like maybe like a macaque?
Okay. What's the macaque smuggling?
Oh, probably heroin.
Wow, bold choice.
You know, we've got here and probably a needle or two, but
I would use a monkey too,
syringe.
probably a gorilla, but he'd hop over and he would just have the alpha brain monkey mindset. It'd be just like in the commercials I make where a gorilla hops over a prison yard and has a big bottle
Mhm.
and gives it to you.
Wow.
And then in a very gruff voice goes, "To get you straight, brother." It's voiced by Hulk Hogan.
Wow.
Oh man, we need to make that available to the listeners.
Yeah, just a gorilla with a giant bottle of pills, and he's saying, "To get you straight, brother."
Mhm.
God, if I could just devote my days to graphic design.
I know.
Did I ever tell you about the guy who got mad because I posted for our Thanksgiving episode? I used computer generated AI to make a funny picture to post with that episode. And somebody who doesn't follow the show, who's never listened to the show, who didn't follow us on social media, saw the picture and decided it was time to make his stand and call us out for ruining the lives of graphic designers everywhere. Who, by the way, we have a graphic designer. His name is Mike Tidwell. He's the finest tattoo artist in the greater Washington state area, the greater Pacific Northwest. And we weren't taking food out of his mouth.
No.
He thought the picture was funny.
I don't know, man. The AI art thing is tough
Yeah.
because there are just a mass grave of professions that have been destroyed by advances in technology over the past 50, 60, 100 years that no one really seems to care about.
Yeah.
But for some reason,
don't get me wrong. As an attorney, I'm about 2 years away from AI taking over my job. About 2 years.
No.
Because don't get me wrong, I can write a better contract than AI, but I can't write a cheaper contract than AI.
Well, I mean, I don't know about 2 years for that, but we are probably, 40 or 50 years away from AI taking over most jobs, really.
Right.
I think you mean Skynet.
Well, I don't know about all that, but there will be a lot of stuff where definitely there will be people that are needed to direct the AI for a while, for quite some time. But at some point, yeah, we are probably headed to some sort of singularity kind of sitch, maybe. But
Sure. Well, have you read anything that what is it? Chat GPU, is that what it's called?
Yeah, I've played around with it and come up with some interesting stuff, but mostly come up with gibberish.
I read an article and that some of it was written by. It is convincing. It was well done. Just I've done those quizzes with the art. I can't tell, and I'm not an artist. I'm an art critic, and I don't want artists to lose their jobs.
Oh, we know.
But it is. I can't tell the difference, and maybe I'm just that unsophisticated. I don't know what it is, but
it depends on
it's a weird thing.
You really have to work on customizing your inputs. But what I found, at least in what it writes, is that I could definitely input what I wanted and make something that was a good basis for what I wanted to write. But I don't think I could just put in the inputs and actually have it produce something that was of the quality I wanted, and no matter what I was writing. I can't input one of these episodes of INS, for example. It's just too complicated.
There's no way you could do that. We're too smart.
Yeah, exactly.
No computer will ever beat me.
You're a real John Henry type.
Yeah, I'm a real John Hancock. There is I think there will be people that are needed to direct the AI for a long time. And then it'll make people actually making art. It'll make that art probably a lot more expensive.
Well, here, maybe this is a question that I don't know the answer to, but I think maybe it could relate to this. Drum machines have been around for a long time,
taking the jobs of hundreds and thousands of drummers.
Well, but seriously, I think drum machines are sophisticated enough that don't they even input slight variations so you don't get that this is too perfect vibe going, that they're designed to mimic a human being. They're not even designed to be perfectly on beat. They're designed to sound like a human's playing drums.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And again, I'm sure there's people who have way better ears than I do, but I don't know that I could tell the difference. But I also don't know that there's a giant dip in the drumming profession. Is that not a model for this, or?
Listen, nobody was worried about there being less drummers in the world, though. Nobody was.
Hey, Kevin, I also think that if you're worried about your job being replaced, right. I think you're fortunate that most legislators in the U.S. have a legal background.
Yeah, the majority
would always ensure that if anything, your job would just get really, really easy. But they're going to ensure a human being is involved in the process.
Like, that's the thing, is that most judges still require human eyes to pass through everything. Licensed attorney eyes to pass through everything. So I do have some job security.
I'm
if
sure
anybody's
the
worried about that.
Concerned. They were probably they're probably setting up a GoFundMe for you.
I'll take your GoFundMe money, though. Don't get me wrong. I got a house payment.
Yeah.
I believe we have a new segment in Get to Know Your Podcast.
October 14th, 1982 saw what was then the largest protest in video game history when a crowd of 200 to 300 Native Americans, feminists, and anti-porn activists gathered outside a trade show in New York to protest the offensive Atari 2600 game, Custer's Revenge.
Oh my God.
Welcome to this episode of Getting to Know Your Podcast, where we talk about stuff that we are fluent with, but maybe you might not know about it. And this is something that's come up a couple times: porn video games. And we're going to go right to the very beginning of the pornography in video games with one of three games that came out for a line of adult video games for the Atari 2600 that were called...
I need to know, were these licensed by Atari?
Well, Atari had a very easy to get into code. So you could kind of just make stuff and put it up for Atari.
Okay. But Atari didn't approve it.
Well, I don't know that Atari was there. There's a lot of legality, and things get real weird because people have just been kind of trying to track down what happened with all this, because it was kind of just this weird blip. But there was this company that was like a shell company of a shell company that was called Mystique Presents Swedish Erotica. Awesome. That made three games. Well, they make a couple more later on, but initially they had three games for the Atari 2600. And I actually remember back in the day, and I never heard about Custer's Revenge, which is the main game that we're going to get to. But like, I remember seeing ads I think it was in comic books, and it was like ads for like big places, probably on the East Coast, where you could go buy video games, like Atari games. And there would be a little caveat in the ad about these like kind of electronic superstores that you could probably mail order from too, that said, "We do not sell any adult XXX Atari games." And I remember being so curious about that. I am curious yellow. I remember being so bi-curious about that. But it turns out that, yeah, there was a thing in 82. There's a long list of how these guys kind of, their companies, where they came from. They came from a lot of like kind of boring, legitimate business sources. These two guys started this company called American Multiple Industries, which was under which the Mystique line was. It was two guys, Stuart Keston and Joel Martin. They'd done a bunch of stuff. They were like in manufacturing. They had a line of like cartridge containers, like not video games, but like little containers to put your cartridges in or whatever. Because I think initially, like, you would get like, now when you get like a PlayStation game, it comes with like a DVD case. Like back in the day, you get these Atari games, and they just came with like, there was just like the cartridge inside, like the cardboard paper or the cardboard box. They made like cartridge walls and like cartridge,
like CD racks and stuff,
like CD racks and individualized kind of like clamshells. But they were doing some market research on video games, and they realized that 1 in 3 Penthouse subscribers also owned an Atari 2600.
Yeah, here we go.
Penthouse, which was the first mainstream magazine to show ladies peeing.
Really?
Wow.
Did you know that? Yeah.
I did not know
I
that.
didn't know that. Put
Yeah.
that in your trivia notebook. Good job, Mike.
Was that at the same
Golden-
time? Like,
Golden
what is this, 82,
shower.
83?
I think it was a little bit later when Penthouse started
Okay.
having people having the ladies go pee on everything. But
Okay.
they assembled a team, 5 people, small team, 5 people in LA, 26 people in Asia, a couple people in Silicon Valley, kind of put together a software company. And it's just there's a lot to do about a lot of this is from a really good article called Porno Hustlers of the Atari Age by Kate Willibert. She kind of talks about how this kind of company came together and they actually like teamed up with another group called CCC, Caballero Control Corporation, which was known for a long running series called Swedish Erotica that it put out. It was mostly like what they call them loops, porno loops, which were just like silent. They called them loops because back in the day when you go see porn, you go to like porn theaters. They would also have like these kind of, I know it's basically like a TV that you would put your eyes into, like an old school kinescope.
Oh, yeah.
And you would like turn a wheel, or maybe like later they were electric, and it would be like a girl dancing, and it would just kind of play over and over. And the Swedish Erotica series, had a series of Super 8 films that were directed by Ed Wood, famous Ed Wood of Plan 9 from Outer Space and stuff. He kind of fell into kind of nudie porn, but kind of softcore porn. Nothing real crazy, but towards the end of his life.
He wrote a lot of porn books too, actually. Like
but yeah,
novels.
he did a bunch of movies for the Swedish Erotica series. And like part of the reason, and kind of when I said like, I am curious, yellow. So Sweden had this weird reputation back in the day for, I don't know, just like overt sexuality. And a lot of the early like quote unquote porn movies were like, they were able to like theater owners were able to not get arrested by saying this is Swedish erotica, or this is like Swedish art or Swedish documentary. And it'd just be like nudists running around and stuff like that because you would get arrested if you were actually showing people sucking and fucking. And one of the big ones in the early days was that was real famous was called I Am Curious Yellow, in parentheses. Yellow would be in, and there's another, I think there's like 3 colors. There's like I Am Curious Blue and I Am Curious Red or something like that. So like a lot of early stuff back then, like just putting anything as Swedish erotica made it like very like, ooh, yeah. Ooh la la.
Like Seiko, right?
Well, Seiko wasn't Swedish. She was from...
Was she not?
No. She just looks... She just looks very Swedish.
Man. Well, that just changed a whole bunch of memories of mine.
Well, she's still great.
Yeah.
Always wore a sash on her neck.
Way to ruin Brian's 20s.
Mm-hmm.
Always wore a sash on her neck. But they decided, man, I got all these penthouse owners. We should combo these two. This is like Reese's Pieces. 2 things that taste great, that'll taste great together. And they started selling the idea and putting it together. They put out the idea. Distributors were fighting for exclusive territories. And even though the games were going to be priced even higher than other games at the time, they were going to be $50 a piece.
Shit, in 1982?
$139.
Wow.
In 2021. Can you imagine? But I mean, granted though, we're paying $80 for a game.
You didn't have anything to do back then either.
Still.
And you had a good union job, probably.
Which is crazy. It says that back then games were typically launched at $30, which is $84 now, which is kind of what we're back to now.
That's still insane, yeah.
That being said, I feel like they stayed about that high for a long time, whereas now I feel like a new game's get a drop in price at this 6-month mark, and definitely at the year mark, it'll be like half of whatever it opened at, right?
Right.
So they had already talked to some porn people, and they wanted to make some porn versions of the movies Talk Dirty to Me and Filthy Rich. A whole bunch of things get crazy. I'm not going to completely go into it. There's a big convoluted thing about how they had to like change company names and do a bunch of stuff because one of the 2 dudes was connected to FHE, which is family home entertainment that made like infomercial, or not infomercial, but like infotainment on VHS tapes. And if you look at the logo, you'll remember it. It looks like an old school like writing thing with the little line in the middle and the bars for you to write between, and there's the letters FHE look like they're written in crayon. I'll send you guys a picture of it. When you see it, you'll like, I don't remember what it's from, but I for sure remember the logo. But that was a big deal because somebody found out. And keep in mind, this is like at the time of, there's like a lot of like anti-porn crusading and stuff going on, and a lot of like very pearl clutching kind of people. And someone found out that one of them, you know, some guy on some level is connected to pornography and children's entertainment. So that was the whole thing. So they had to like obfuscate his name and kind of say he wasn't a part of it and move stuff around and companies and yada yada. But so they're getting everything together, and they're going to do this big ad campaign, and they start talking about the 3 games that they are going to make. And the games are, the first one is called Bachelor Party, and it's just a ripoff of Atari's Breakout, where if you remember Breakout, you're a little ball and you're bouncing and like breaking blocks, you know? And
with the paddle, right?
This is for the listeners that don't know the Atari 2600, like, to describe the graphics level as rudimentary is overselling it. I mean,
if you called it pixelated, people would get the wrong idea about how good the graphics were.
Exactly.
They would think, oh, well, you can make stuff out. It was lines and squares.
Like, each pixel is about a half an inch rectangle, and everything is made up of these half-inch rectangles with no color gradient. You can't, like, within that half inch, you cannot change the color. It was a constant thing back then of like, you'd look at these video games and you'd look at the box artwork, and it was just this amazing picture of this Frank Frazetta looking warrior with a battle axe standing in front of, you know, a dead dragon with, you know, arrows flying through the air and fire breathing dragons. And you open up the game and like, oh, that the warrior that you're playing is just a square that moves around. And when you push a button, it shoots out another square that's meant to be the arrow. And the dragon is like, you know, 4 or 5 of those squares with a hole in the middle meant to be its eye. And then it shoots yellow dots at you. It was just so bad. So anyway, Bachelor Party was a knockoff of Atari's Breakout, but instead of a bouncing ball that's going at a wall of bricks, you're bouncing a nude man at a wall of nude women, which I don't know exactly what that looked like. And then there was another game, and this one sounds very interesting to me. I would like to play. It's called Beat 'em and Eat 'em. And it was a crude interpretation of Activision's Kaboom, which was a game that you're a guy catching bombs. There's an evil bomber that's dropping bombs, and you would have to catch him with a bucket. You were a bucket. Like, you were just a bucket that was catching bombs. But in Beat 'em and Eat 'em, the villain was replaced by a nude man launching semen, and you have to catch it in a nude woman's mouth. And some publications refrain from describing the game, while others even refuse to print the name. That sounds like a good game, though.
I mean, it sounds challenging, perhaps, on a video game format.
I mean, the original was pretty difficult to play, catching all those bombs.
Well, yeah, but imagine if it was cum.
I know.
Well, you know what they say, Mike.
Yeah, they say that it's that if you get too much in there, you'll have to pump your stomach.
So,
because
are you playing a woman
sticky.
or are you playing Rod Stewart in this game?
You're playing a woman in that game, but I don't know. Maybe you could. Well, we'll get to. There's some gender stuff in a little bit where they kind of mix it up. But the game that caused all the controversy that I opened up with was called Custer's Revenge, where you're playing General George Armstrong Custer, a celebrated Civil War hero whose poor decision making in later battles with the Lakota resulted in a less than heroic death that was inexplicably mythologized as Custer's Last Stand. I said Custards, but it was Custer's Last Stand. So in this game, Custer is still alive, but he's mostly nude, and he's got a very crudely rendered erection. And on the opposite side of the screen is a Native American woman tied to a post.
Oh, no.
And your job is to guide Custer past various obstacles so he can reach the woman and get his titular revenge.
Oh no.
The Los Angeles Times did a story about it, and they're like, they didn't get the full story at first, and they thought it was like, oh, you're supposed to rescue the maiden, but they didn't really know that. So a lot of people didn't really know what the deal was with this at first, but then when it started to come out what it was, a big deal. Like the copy for it was, the initial copy was, your general, this is the copy on the back of the box. Your General Custer, your dander's up, your pistol's waving. You've hogtied a ravishing Indian maiden and have a chance to rewrite history and even settle up an old score. Now the Indian maiden's hands may be tied, but she's not about to take it lying down, by George. Help is on the way. And if you're to get revenge, you'll have to rise to the challenge and dodge a tribe of flying arrows and protect your flanks against some downright mean and prickly cactuses. But if you can stand pat and last past the stings and arrows, you can stand last. Remember, revenge is sweet. Every time old Custer makes a score, that challenging of the game gets more difficult. And then, but then they changed it to try, like, after all the initial run of protests, they're like, oh, no. You're not getting revenge through rape on the woman. Her name is Revenge. So they changed the box text. So it says, your General Custer, your dander's up, your pistol's waving. You've set your sights on a ravishing maiden named Revenge. And then remember, revenge is sweet. Every time old Custer scores, he comes up smiling and right back for more. So, and the guys, they're getting all these complaints, and they try to, they have a couple quotes that they try to like downplay it. They're like, there's no violence or no venereal disease. We just have entertainment in mind. One of them says, I let my 11-year-old son play the games.
Oh no.
And my wife loves them too. Okay. So Joel Martin says, he goes, he's seducing her. Okay. Yeah, it's okay. He's seducing her, but she's a willing participant. Even though she's tied up. And then the other guy says, there's no rape or ravage scene in the video game. He does make an impression on the Indian girl, but you can see she's having a good time. A smile comes across her face. But obviously it's a problem, and it's doing a lot of damage to the company, especially because they have the other games for it. But it also sells pretty well, And it was one of those things, all the stores were like not carrying them, right? Like every store is pretty much saying not to. I'm sure somebody somewhere is, but for the most part, it's not. And Mystique has to put out a thing that says Mystique is not affiliated with the Atari company. This is not for sale to minors. You must be 21 to order. So they put ads in Penthouse and in every like old porn mag at the time.
Yeah.
They say like, you've heard about them. You've read about them. You can play them in the privacy of your own home. They have a great tagline for these games. In these games, when you score, you score. Nice. Pretty clever.
And maybe I'm wrong, Mike, but I'm sure you're looking at some stills, but it seems especially crazy because from other Atari 2600 graphics I can picture in my head, the only thing that makes these games pornographic is the description of the game.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you could come up with an entirely different story about what this is and say that's what the game is.
The erection and the flesh colored tits on is the only thing to kind of call that to attention. I think they kind of give her a nipple color and the erection on Custer as he goes across. But the other thing too is like people don't like Custer's Revenge. Like it's not only is it's a dumb game. Like it's not a fun game that people...
Oh, I wouldn't have realized this before. Thank you.
Well, I mean, you could see like the fact is Kaboom is as far as games go, was kind of fun. And so this would be like, well, this is a funny version of that. And, all these kind of anti-porn people are coming out against it when really the one thing that I will back these guys on, and then they're like, these aren't really X-rated. These are just like naughty novelty. These are jokes.
Right.
And I will kind of back that. Like, I can't imagine a world where anyone was actually getting horny playing any of these games.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you can't imagine a world where people were learning history from playing these games.
Well, that either. I mean, But they obviously got tons of heat, but they still sold. And I don't know what's good and bad. There's some claims that initially they sold 75,000 copies, but it goes all the way up to 200,000 copies that they sold. But I don't really know what's good or bad. But unfortunately, this is like when did I say this was? 1980. Yeah, 82. So the whole Atari game industry crashes around 85 anyway, 84, 85 with
the end of 83
ET.
actually with ET.
Yeah, the beginning of 83. And a big reason why the industry crashes was because people were putting out so many games, and sellers, distributors kind of sold the idea that there was going to be this really big year, and there were so many games out that individual stores overbought and had this huge excess of games that they couldn't sell, like ET. I mean, I remember back in the day, you go into, we should do a whole episode on ET, but like the ET video game it didn't single-handedly, but it certainly had a big hand in crashing the entire video game industry because so many copies were oversold, and they just sat around because the game was so shitty. But
and then the retailers stopped ordering the games entirely.
Yeah,
and so there was this whole a year later, developers who had left Atari were getting contacted and going they were going hey, could you make some Atari games again, because we still have 30 million of these consoles out there, and people actually want to play these. We just don't have them in stores anymore because everybody liquidated their inventory.
They still had some games to come out before the whole industry went under, and they came out with 3 more games, but they did kind of a clever thing where the 3 games were, and I never saw any other Atari games do this. So usually, there's I guess you would call it the open end of the Atari cartridge that you would stick into the console, and then the other end would just kind of say the name of the game on top of it. There would be no opening. It would say the name of these cartridges had open ends on each side, and there would be 2 games on each cartridge, but they were different versions of the same game, and they were just gender swapped. So there was a game called Night on the Town, or if you flipped it around, it was called Lady in Waiting, and it involved rescuing your dear prince or princess who's being held captive in a castle tower. You've got to build a bridge across a moat while dodging beasts and crocodiles, and you're completely nude. That's pretty fun.
Very vulnerable.
There was a game called either Burning Desire or Jungle Fever, which I just realized saying that last one out loud, how that might not have gone over so well. And that involved rescuing your dear damsel or male equivalent who's about to be burned on a flaming pyre by jungle natives. Oh no. Who the manual carefully only ever refers to as the bad guys. Yeah, and you must put out, but this part seems fun. This part seems cool. You have to put out the flames while hanging nude from a helicopter so you can place your penis or breasts in their mouth for them to hold onto as you fly away. So that's pretty fun.
I don't want anyone holding on to my penis while I'm.
But have you ever played a game that does that before?
I can't say that I have.
You can't do that in Animal Crossing.
Well,
I never played that one either. So
I like Elden Ring, but there's at no point do I get to let someone hold on to my penis with their mouth. And fly away.
Well, I mean, you've been playing it for like 6 months and you haven't finished it. Maybe that's later in the game.
That's true.
He's soaking all the fun out of the game. I think that's a good idea.
And then there was another set of games called Cat House Blues and Gigolo, which was a stealthy game of memory. It opens with 7 sex workers leaving prison. Great game. And you got to memorize which house they go into so you can score with each of them without entering the wrong house while also avoiding the cops. You must also stop by the bank occasionally so you can pay the sex workers. But if you carry too much at once, a mugger will appear. So I don't know. It
sounds like a public safety game then, right? It's teaching you.
It's a real
pay, right?
It's like a Pac-Man maze, because I could see that as like a maze game where like you get.
I don't know. I can only see the covers of these games.
Okay.
But the one that I think that anyone really remembers of any of this is Custer's Revenge. And yeah, when you look at it, and you can go and look up the gameplay on YouTube, and it looks like the most boring game on the history of the planet. Like I can't imagine wanting to have that game, because it's not, other than just the sheer audacity of how weird it is. And they kind of sold as novelty items, but they've kind of just since been lost to history as this thing that happened. And I want to do a follow-up about other porn games, because there's not many for a long time. Now, as I understand it, there's a whole bunch of Flash games. And I mean, I'll honestly say I have a little bit of experience with those, because I'm one of the few people that's ever I actually entered a championship, and I'm one of the few people. There's a couple games that say they dare you to play this for 30 seconds without coming. And
oh wow,
it took me a long time. It took me a long time, but I actually was able to achieve that goal. That was kind of my big thing for last year. That was my getting to the nationals for that, and playing that game on stage and lasting for a solid 6 minutes.
Wow,
was
good for you.
Yeah,
good for you.
And I know I didn't come in first. I didn't win, but I do feel like that the guy that did win, I think that there's probably some, let's just say, some performance enhancing stuff.
Oh, I see.
Going on there. I think I saw him snorting Lexapro, which as a common side effect makes it so you can't.
I feel like the end of Madonna's recent Truth or Dare video should have ended with that dare instead of a dare to go on a world tour. That would have been.
It does seem better.
I dare you to watch this video.
Dare you to play this game for 30 seconds without coming.
I
bet. I honestly, I don't even think Madonna could pull that off.
Probably not.
But yeah, that is a little bit about one of the first, if not the first, pornographic video games.
Very nice.
We're gonna have to talk about Leisure Suit Larry, and there's a whole.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. The leather goddesses of Phobos. The
next one of these is going to be a follow-up on some of the other games.
Nice.
Very nice. I can't wait till next week.
Me neither.
Nor can I.
So, I think that wraps up another week of the International News Service. Find us across social media at International News Pod. Email us at internationalnewspod@gmail.com. I think I speak for all of us when I call on the Bolivian government to get a psychic to help Mike find his car keys. Check out the INS merch store at Redbubble and our Patreon. And don't forget to check out our subreddit at r/INSpod. We'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to the International News Service. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. INS, the news you need.